So welcome guys to another session of my life coding. Um, just a note of warning before we move on. I'm down with cold, so please bear with me in case of any sneezing or anything. Not cold due to stress, not cold due to COVID-19. I need to say that before someone gets scared. So I'm actually down with cold. I've already determined that today I was going to do some live session. So instead of me to just what will I call it now? Instead of me to just give excuse of not feeling too well. So yesterday, okay, the last session we did, we actually had two issues. We had two issues. Let me move to my main screen. So before I move, I think I need to do something. Okay. So the last session we did, we actually had two issues that were before us, and the number one issue that I had experienced the last time was that I was getting coordinator. Sorry about that. Coordinator not found exemption. Let me short. Let me. That is the one of the issues we had that I was experiencing then. That was as 2 days ago. Then another issue was transaction not found exemption. So that is the two issues that we had on Tuesday. The two issues that we had on Tuesday. I was able to investigate this briefly yesterday, and I discovered that it was actually due to transaction timeout. It was actually due to transaction timeout. I set the transaction timeout to 2 seconds, so which was the cause of because after the timeout, I think the transaction is being delayed. It's being deleted. So once I increased the transaction, let me show you. So once I increased the transaction to, okay, let me go to. Okay. So coming. So once I increase the transaction to about transaction timeout to about 5 minutes, the error stopped to occur at the server side. But now I'm faced with another issue. My search yesterday, my investigation yesterday actually revealed one thing for me. The way that um, Apache Pulsar transaction works for client is that when you are running a transaction in Pulsar, if you are sending a message with transaction in Pulsar, you add the transaction to it. What that does behind the scene is, let me show you. Okay, let me go to implementation. Producer. So let me go to the producer actor. Okay, so when you send a message with transaction, what that does is behind the scene, So, folks, sorry about that. I had a visitor that just left. So, what I was saying was that, right now I'm actually facing an issue with transaction because when you are sending a message, you actually send it with a transaction, and what the transaction does is to register that particular topic as a topic, transactional topic. Then once that is done, you send the message to the broker. I think behind the scene, the broker uses notice that okay, this topic is transactional. Then it's kind of how do I put it? Now? It kind of uses okay. It makes sure that no consumer consumes the message until while it's not being aborted or committed. But the issue I'm having now is that you are sending a transactional message, but you are able to consume it back even before committing or aborting. It's a bit erratic. So my thought is probably maybe there's actually something wrong at the server side. Maybe probably I'm missing a configuration or a switch or so. So what I'm going to do today is actually maybe at times I've also discovered that one thing about testing, at times when you're testing your code, probably with X unit and all that, the test process, there might be some other things that might not make it work. So before I conclude on that, if it's the server side or it's the client side, what I'll do is I'll run a transaction. I'll use Apache transaction from a console instead of from my test unit or unit test and verify if it's actually not the unit test, maybe the process, the background process or something like that affecting the test that is making it to be flaky. Now I'll do that. Once I do that, if there's an issue still, I'll move on from there. I don't want to spend much time investigating why the transaction is not working or why transaction is not working as it was designed to. At times it could be that the standalone version of Pulsar is not really that good. So what I'll do is if it doesn't work out the way I want it, I'll leave it. When we move on to Kubernetes, I have a local Kubernetes cluster running, but right now I'm running it purely on Docker. I have a local Kubernetes running. When I get to that time, I'll deploy it. I'll deploy Pulsar into a Kubernetes. So how do you say Kubernetes environment or Kubernetes environment? Oh boy, sorry, there is power outage. So once we get to that point, I'll verify now if we are not able to achieve any positive result. We move on, and once I start running the Docker itself inside a Kubernetes environment, I'll test it again to verify. So for now, what I'll do is create. What I'll do is to actually verify my. What I'll do is create a transaction from a console instead of using the unit test for that. So I've also noticed that it's at times it's buggy. That is, when you're running a unit test with S unit, so at times what may work on a normal console app may be a little bit an issue when you're running it as a unit test. So I want to just quickly see what I can do. Private void transaction. Okay. So let's say for my network is a bit unstable right now. So please bear with me. Like I said, if I just joining, I'm actually having code So my voice might not be that clear. Oh, I received a comment from. Oh, since. Sorry, please. I need to. So I'm repeating it again that I'm having cold. So I didn't want that to stop me from doing my live session today. And the network is a bit unstable. Please bear with me. So let's move on from there. So I'm doing this because I actually want to verify that it's not actually the the unit test process that is actually causing the issue for us. So I want to actually verify by actually um, running a demo of the transaction endpoint or Pulsar to verify. So if I still get the same issue as it were with the unit test, I'll move on from there. Then I'll focus on the main issue that I've had with the producer. So what I'm going to do now, so let's go on, let's move away from there. So what I will do is okay, I've created this. Okay, I'm going to move this logic away from me. I'm going to put it in a separate private void produce consume. Please, network, and I urge you. Oh man. Oh jeez. Waiting for the network to catch up to be stable before I continue. That's annoying me. So let's move on. So I'm actually want to come up with a. I'm actually thinking of something. What should you call an environment? For instance, a situation that is dangerous, or a situation that is full of danger. You say it's dangerous. Then a situation that is full of so actually talking about what will you call what can we call a community's environment? Like I don't know. At time I was just thinking about this, it just came to my head. Community or communitas environment. Hmm. I want to come up with my own what would I call it now? Terminology or my own what do you call it now? Sociology, with my own term for an environment, for a community's environment, or an environment that is actually 100% driven or powered by communities and clusters. So I don't know, maybe community or community's environment. Let's move on from there. So now I'm going to move this block of code. Why I'm doing so is because we can easily switch and run different what's that client? Let's see. What's that client? Let me see. So let's borrow a leaf from client. Okay. Oh God. Oh, there's gonna be a little bit of an issue. What I'll do is I'll reference the project directly. I'll reference the project directly. So I will remove this. Let me go to my. I need to be able to. No, I need to copy this so that I can. Uninstall 14 from tutorial. So we are uninstalling that so that we can use the current implementation. So add that as a reference, project reference. Add it as a project reference. Pulsar itself. So let's move on. So I'm sorry, this is not it. So what I'll do is now transaction. So I'm having chilling. Please bear with me. So I'm having code due to stress, please, not code due to COVID-19. So now let's go. My topic so transaction. You shouldn't be able to read any message until you committed it. So you come here, let's try this again. So you should be able to read messages here. Let me call this one, so that it is distinguish. Let me call this two, so I will distinguish each level. So what I'm trying to do here is actually verify, because in the past I've run into a situation where the test environment was actually an issue. There are things that were failing that weren't failing when you run it on a console, or just use it, not that you're testing it, but you're using it as a user. So I want to check, because I don't understand what happens, because the way this is the flow of transactions in Apache Pulsar. So let me detail the flow. The first one is to create the coordinator. The second one step is to create the transaction. The next step is to send the message with transaction. The next step is to register that topic as a topic for transaction. Then the next step is to send the message with the transaction, and the next step is to commit or abort it before you consume it. So let me use another method. Nope, let me use another method. Yo, jeez, okay, let's go back. We can't go back. That is a classic example of deleting production database. I've deleted the production database. Wow. So let's continue. Let's continue. So Control Z should do the trick. So let me go back. I'm actually trying to show you the workflow or the flow of data with transaction message. So let me continue. So this is the coordinator. This is the transaction itself. Sorry, once again, please. I'm sorry for that. I'm actually down with cold, but I don't want that to be as an excuse for me not to do what I need to do today. Sorry about that. Please bear with me. So the next one is transaction coordinator. Okay, is to produce. Okay, produce message with transaction. Then register the topic. So now the problem I'm actually having now, which I've investigated thoroughly yesterday, was after registering the topic as a transactional topic or adding it as a partition to the transaction, it should work, but it's not, it's failing. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to investigate it outside the test unit to see what actually happens. If you're not able to get any positive feedback, I'm going to move on from it. So I'll come back to the transactional aspect when I'm now running on the community. Geez, the word community or Kubernetes environment is not just entering my mouth, but I run it when I'm actually on a Kubernetes. Oh, geez, there should be a word for it, like Kubernetes. I think that when I'm actually running Pulsar in Kubernetes, yeah. So I don't know why that was just entering my mouth. It's just coming out of my mouth. So I'll leave that. If I don't get any success, I'll verify. Probably there is a change. Maybe there's a configuration that I'm not getting right. Because as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I can see, there seems not to be any tangible, what would I call it now, issue from the coding aspect. So if I verify it, because I've checked the source code of the Java client and I've been able to implement it the way I understood the way it's supposed to be, and I've been able to do that. So I'm going to run it in a console app and see what happens from there. So let me move from here. So, like here, I said I'm already creating a transaction with 5 minutes timeout. Now, yeah, and I'm sending a message with. Please bear with me about the code, please. I'm sending a message with the transaction, and what that means is, before sending this message, the producer actually registers this topic here. It registers this topic as a transactional topic. And once that has been done successfully, the message is sent using that transaction. But what I'm getting is that the transaction is not being used. So therefore, the consumer is consuming the messages outside the transaction, which is not supposed to be. In that kind of case, it means that we're not actually sending the message with transaction. We're just sending it as a normal producer, as a normal message without any transactional support and all that. So, what my intention here is to actually investigate this further outside the test environment, the unit test, because all the execution have been carried out before now have been done within the S unit environment, test environment. So I want to see what happens at this level. So now I've created what I'm going to do is simply to run transaction. I'm going to pass in the Pulsar client. That's the only dependency it needs. So let me see, why are we getting error? Pulsar client, why the error? Okay, static, it needs to be static. This also needs to be static. Now you can even take it up a notch. You say, okay, let's console switch. Let's call it switch, because I need to verify two things. Switch. Oh, see this. CMD equal to console dot read line. So switch. I'm going to switch on that. So let me know the result might be. I'm going to say if command equals, let's call it X. You shouldn't care about string comparison. Ignore ordinary ignore case. So you don't care about the casing. Even if it's in capital letters, you need to work. So if it is that, then you should run the transaction, else run the normal producer. Else run produce. Pulsar client. So now I'm going to give this whole solution. No, let's not give this solution. Let's give this. Okay. It's actually frustrating when your network doesn't come to the party. Which is at times I just wonder if in this part of the world service providers actually care about quality of service. Is it because They don't sue like that. It's part of the world. I imagine I'm doing my life depend on this thing and I'm live stream right now and the network is not stable. Can they try that for in advanced countries like US? They can't try that because there's a lot of lawsuits. But here, it's anything goes. Give people any kind of service and nothing happens. How can a good network be terrible? That's the question. If you have a bad network, it's understandable. But you have a network that you can get a minimum of 10 megabyte per second and it's terrible. Like you're having less than 1 megabyte. Then that's a big issue. So that's the question. How can a good network be terrible? At times I just feel like calling the network provider to just use the F word on them. So um I'm actually chatting my ISP. I'm chatting them up on WhatsApp to see if there's anything they can do to make this network a bit usable. Because right now it's not. Sorry. So I think we're having a bit of stability. So let's move on. Let's move on. Having a bit of stability. So now I've actually built the project. So let's run it and see where that gets us. So I'm actually thinking of something. So if you are getting this a transaction, you actually need to convert it to. Let me wait. Probably I'm using something doing that. Maybe there is. Maybe probably our issue is with the. Transaction. We don't need this anymore since it's already done. No, no. Okay. Since there's no issue, so let's see. Okay. Okay. I think before saying okay, I need to investigate this as well to ensure that the problem is not from here. Okay, send. I need to investigate this to ensure that the problem is not from here. I'm sending a message to the detector. Okay, let's go. I need to investigate this. Probably there could be an issue here. So I think that's not the problem. So let me go back to as it were. Let me continue this. So let's move on. Let me review the project. So my WhatsApp is not running right now. So I also discovered something yesterday. I discovered something yesterday as well. So before I run it, before I was talking about In one of our live show, I was talking about getting zookeeper timeout exemption. Talking about that notepad. So it turns out that that if I remove this mount, no, that is wrong one. If I remove this one, if I remove this, the zookeeper doesn't actually throw any error. And also, I've discovered something. Okay, if I also enable this, I get a little bit of variability. Set retention. I've set the retention for this. Probably that is not working. So let me copy and paste that. Okay, what we do is this. Let's set the retention. Maybe that minus is not actually effective. So let's set it to 3600 to 100 megabytes. So I need a command line. Push that and watch it play up. So we are not actually getting that zookeeper timeout error. So now I'm going to close this because I want to be able to copy out the log. So that's why I'm going to use this. So maybe probably I should give it some minutes for. Okay, I don't think so. I don't think it needs any other minute. Okay, so I'm going to call it. Okay, not this. I'm going to call it TXN. Should be none. So okay, let's do this way. So debug. Okay, so I'm going to type in Excel. Oh, what do I do then? Transactions are not enabled. Okay, so that's a 0. You need to enable transaction. Accept transaction is not enabled. So let's look at how we did it with the So let me see how we went about it. Ooh. Sorry. what I can do is okay, what I can do is client config. What I can do is before actually let's do this way. Let's go this route. Console.writeLine. Please enter command read line. So what I'm going to do is if for instance let's do this equals if for instance this equals this, then if you set the transaction enable transaction equals true. We're enabling the transaction now, and we shouldn't expect any error. So let me review the so now we let's move on from there. Okay, so let's so I'm going to say CXN for transaction. Let's see how it plays up. Okay. Well, I was also eating all this yesterday. Funny enough, was I eating here yesterday? Error. Coordinator not found. Well, we keep trying it. Only producers disabled send out are allowed to. Another interesting. Okay. So let me end that. Where's the producer? So I'm going to set the send time as 0. Sorry. So what I'm going to do is, like you as usual, delete the log. So let's go around our code again. Yes. So please buy. Please buy. So let me leave this place. I want to investigate the message. I want to check the metadata of the message. Okay, 00. Okay, so let me leave this place. We shouldn't consume message here. So I'm gonna wait for 30 seconds to see if we get any message. Let me see. Is there any message? No, it shouldn't. Okay. Now I have an idea. We shouldn't consume any message. We shouldn't consume any message. This should be none. Now I'm going to end this here because I need to. That brings me to another idea. So let me go to the log. I want to check something because I can see that they are saying most byte and least byte is 0. Okay, first of all, let me go to the if there's any error. So there seems to be no error at the server side. So there seems to be no error at the server side. So let me check my log now. I'm keeping a particular, and once I get that, I pray that that is the problem so that I can move on from here. Okay, it's actually the same thing. So why is it not working? Easy. Let me leave this at 3 seconds. So let me go and delete the log again. So let's run the code again to see. So transaction transaction One, two, three. Why is it consuming message? It's not supposed to consume messages. Transaction is not supposed to consume messages. So let's go. How do end? Create subscription on topic. Subscribing on topic. Producer. I can see that there is actually a transactional topic here. Right from Bluetooth. So let me. So what I want to investigate now is. Sorry, I need